Welcome to Dialogue with History. Today, Leonardo da Vinci faces Nikola Tesla.
Signore Tesla, I have examined your era, and it seems you have abandoned the eyes. My genius was born from Saper Vedere, knowing how to see. I spent days staring at the turbulence of water and the flight of dragonflies, because I believe that wisdom is the daughter of experience, and nature is the only true master that does not deceive us.
Eyes can be deceived, Maestro Leonardo, but the mind is a perfect laboratory. I did not need to touch a machine to build it. My method was cerebral engineering. I would construct, run, and test my inventions entirely within my brain for years, correcting every fault before I ever sketched a single line on paper, saving time and materials.
But without the physical touch, you miss the truth of the anatomy. I dissected over 30 human corpses in the dead of night, peeling back skin to document the ventricles of the heart and the fetus in the womb. I proved that the heart is a muscle and not just a furnace for spirits, a fact that medicine ignored for centuries because they refused to get their hands dirty.
You looked inside the body, but I looked into the fabric of the universe. My greatest discovery, the rotating magnetic field, did not come from a corpse. I was walking in a park in Budapest, reciting Goethe's Faust, when suddenly the solution appeared before my eyes like a lightning bolt. I saw the magnetic field spinning, the key to the induction motor that drives the modern world.
I too found answers in patterns. By studying the golden ratio in the growth of leaves and the proportions of the human body, as shown in my Vitruvian Man, I realized that mathematics is a language of nature. Whether it is the spiral of a shell or the structure of a cathedral, the underlying geometry is the same. You cannot invent effectively if you do not understand these divine proportions.
Geometry is static, but the universe is vibrating. I discovered that the Earth itself is a giant conductor with a resonant frequency. While you were measuring the length of an arm, I was calculating how to send standing waves through the Earth's crust to transmit energy wirelessly from one continent to another, turning the whole planet into a power grid.
My ambition was to give man the wings of a bird. I wrote the codex on the flight of birds, analyzing how they use air currents to glide without flapping, which is the secret of lift. I designed the ornithopter and the aerial screw, not by magic, but by applying the laws of fluid dynamics to the air, treating the atmosphere as a fluid like water.
You tried to copy the bird, but I harnessed the waterfall. I designed the first hydroelectric power plant at Niagara Falls. I did not just mimic nature's mechanics. I converted the kinetic energy of falling water into the invisible power of alternating current, proving that we don't need to imitate nature to master it. We just need to tap into its energy source.
Let us speak of mechanics, which I call the paradise of the mathematical sciences. I realized that to amplify human strength, we must use levers, gears, and pulleys. I designed the first self-propelled cart using coiled springs for power and a complex escapement mechanism to regulate its speed, creating a machine that could move without being pushed by man or beast.
You were trapped in the age of matter and friction, Maestro, whereas I ushered in the age of vibration and resonance. I discovered that if you want to find the secrets of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. My induction motor has no contacting parts to wear out because it runs on a rotating magnetic field, not on gears that grind against each other.
But a machine must be understandable to the eye to be trusted. I spent years studying friction, the enemy of movement, and I designed the modern ball bearing to reduce it. Without my sketches on reducing friction in axles, the complex machinery of the future, from bicycles to your industrial engines, would simply seize up and fail to function.
Friction is exactly what I aim to eliminate by using electricity. I engaged in the war of currents against Edison because his direct current, DC, was inefficient and required power stations every mile. My alternating current, AC, could step up to high voltages using transformers and travel hundreds of miles with minimal loss, effectively shrinking the size of the world.
I sought to control the flow of elements as well. I was fascinated by hydraulics and designed the mitre lock for the canals of Milan, a system of double doors that is still used in the Panama Canal today. I treated water as a source of power and transport, understanding that civilization relies on the efficient management of nature's flow.
You managed water, but I electrified the air. Inside my laboratory in Colorado Springs, I built the magnifying transmitter, a coil so powerful it created artificial lightning measuring 135 feet. I sat calmly reading a book amidst these sparks to prove the skin effect, showing that high-frequency currents could pass over the human body without harming the organs inside.
My inventions were designed to protect the fragile human body. Take my design for the armored tank, a tortoise-shaped vehicle reinforced with metal plates and slanted angles to deflect enemy fire. It allowed men to fire cannons from the inside while moving 360 degrees, combining mobility with heavy fortification in a way no one had seen before.
Your tank still required men inside to die, but I invented the Tele-Automaton, the world's first radio-controlled boat, which I demonstrated at Madison Square Garden in 1898. The crowd thought it was magic or telepathy, but it was the birth of robotics. I proved that machines could be guided by invisible waves, removing humans from the line of fire entirely.
Before we witness the final verdict on these two visionaries, if you are enjoying this debate, please like and subscribe to support the channel.
Genius cannot survive on air alone. I learned early that to fund my expensive anatomical studies and obtain rare pigments, I needed powerful patrons. I wrote a famous resume to Ludovico Sforza, the Duke of Milan, listing my skills in bridge building and weaponry first, and painting last, because I knew a ruler pays for power and defense, not just for beauty.
I was far too naive for the game of power. I arrived in America with 4 cents in my pocket and a letter of recommendation for Thomas Edison. I worked 18 hours a day for him, fixing his generators. But when I asked for the $50,000 he had promised for improving his motors, he laughed and told me, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor."
A creator must be pragmatic, not emotional. When the French invaded Milan and my patron Sforza fell, I did not weep. I immediately sought employment with Cesare Borgia, a ruthless warlord, as his military engineer. I designed maps and fortifications for him, not because I loved war, but because his protection allowed me the freedom to continue my scientific work.
I chose loyalty over pragmatism, which was my financial ruin. When George Westinghouse, the man who backed my AC system, was in financial trouble, I tore up my royalty contract worth millions of dollars to save his company. I wanted my technology to survive more than I wanted to be rich. A noble decision that left me penniless in my old age.
Nobility does not buy candles for the workshop. I often had to design costumes for masks and mechanical lions that opened their chests to reveal lilies just to amuse the King of France. I understood that sometimes you must play the court jester to secure the funds for your masterpiece. It is a trade-off between dignity and opportunity.
I refused to be a jester, but I was crushed by a tyrant of finance. JP Morgan funded my Wardenclyffe Tower, but the moment he realized I intended to transmit free energy to the world, energy he couldn't put a meter on and sell, he cut my funding. He destroyed the dream of a wireless world simply because it threatened his monopoly on copper wires and profit.
That is why secrecy is a shield. I wrote in mirror writing and kept my greatest discoveries in notebooks tucked inside my tunic, never publishing them. By keeping my knowledge to myself, I remained indispensable to the courts of Europe. If I had given away my secrets freely, as you tried to do, I would have been discarded like a used brush.
You hid your light. I tried to illuminate the earth. My mistake was believing that the capitalists cared about human progress. I died alone in the Hotel New Yorker, feeding pigeons, while the corporations built empires on my patents. The lesson is that in a world ruled by merchants, the inventor is often the product, not the partner.
I called war pazzia bestialissima, most beastly madness. Yet I designed the most terrifying machines for the Duke of Milan. I sketched the scythed chariot, a horse-drawn carriage with rotating blades to sever the limbs of enemy soldiers. Not out of cruelty, but because I knew that a state cannot maintain peace unless it possesses the superior capacity for violence.
I shared your hatred for conflict, but my solution was to make war impossible through deterrence. I proposed the Teleforce, which the press sensationalized as the death ray. It was a particle beam weapon capable of bringing down 10,000 airplanes from 250 miles away, intended to create an invisible Chinese wall around every nation so that no army would dare to attack.
A wall is only as good as its geometry. I revolutionized defensive warfare by designing the trasse italienne, or star-shaped fortresses. I realized that tall, flat medieval walls were vulnerable to cannons, so I designed low, sloped, angular walls that could deflect cannonballs and allow defenders to crossfire on any attacker, turning geometry into a shield.
Static defenses are obsolete in the age of electricity. In 1917, I pitched the idea of using reflected radio waves to detect enemy submarines to the US Navy, the concept that later became radar. I argued that we shouldn't wait for the enemy to hit the wall. We should see them through the darkness, using the eyes of science, before they even arrive.
I also sought to use the elements themselves as weapons. I designed the agitonnaire, or steam cannon, a device made of copper that used the sudden pressure of steam to fire iron balls. I calculated that by pouring water into a heated breach, the expanding gas could launch a projectile with the force of gunpowder, harnessing the fury of boiling water.
Steam is primitive compared to resonance. I claimed I could split the earth like an apple with a small mechanical oscillator attached to a steel beam. By finding the resonant frequency of a structure, even a small vibration can accumulate enough energy to bring down a bridge or a building. A terrifying power that requires no gunpowder, only precise physics.
Information is the deadliest weapon. When I served Cesare Borgia, I created the ethnographic map of Imola using a magnetic compass and odometer. Unlike the artistic maps of the time, mine was a precise, bird's-eye satellite view drawn from the ground, giving my commander a godlike understanding of the terrain to outmaneuver his enemies.
You mapped the terrain to win battles. I wanted to map the ether to end them. My vision of the world system was to create instant global communication. I believe that war is caused by ignorance and misunderstanding between nations. If we could speak to each other instantly across the globe, the barriers of hate would dissolve, making your chariots and my death rays unnecessary.
As I approached the end of my days in the Château de Clos-Lucé, holding the hand of King Francis I, I was haunted by a single question that I scribbled endlessly in my notebooks. Tell me if anything was ever done. I left so many paintings unfinished, like the Adoration of the Magi, because my mind always leaped to a new idea before my hand could finish the old one.
I understand that haunting silence. I spent my final years in room 3327 of the Hotel New Yorker, alone and bankrupt. The world thought I had lost my mind because I spent my time healing injured pigeons instead of building machines. But after they stripped me of my laboratory, those birds were the only creatures that listened to me without asking for profit.
Perfection was my prison. I carried the Mona Lisa with me for 16 years, adding a tiny layer of glaze, a sfumato, day after day, never accepting it was finished. I realized that art is never finished, only abandoned. I sought to capture the very soul of life on canvas, but life is fluid and paint is static, so I was always chasing a ghost.
My prison was the future. I lived in a time that was not ready for me. In 1926, I predicted that one day, through wireless technology, the Earth would be converted into a huge brain, and we would communicate instantly with devices that fit in a vest pocket, the modern smartphone. I saw the internet a century before it happened, but I had to die before the world caught up.
My greatest regret is that I kept my knowledge hidden. I wrote thousands of pages on anatomy, geology, and fluid dynamics in mirror writing, locking them away in chests. Had I published my studies on the human heart and the circulation of blood, medical science would have advanced by centuries. But my paranoia and desire for privacy robbed humanity of that gift.
You hid your work, but mine was erased. After I died, the FBI seized my papers, and the Tesla turbine and my notes on wireless energy were buried. But the laws of physics cannot be hidden forever. Today, every time a car starts or a city lights up at night, it is my alternating current flowing through the veins of civilization, proving that the future I worked for is finally here.
Then perhaps we are not failures, but seeds. I taught the world that art and science are not enemies, but branches of the same tree. By observing the flight of the bird, I dreamed of the airplane. By observing the flow of water, I dreamed of energy. We were the bridge between the world as it was and the world as it could be.
Agreed, Maestro. The scientist does not aim at an immediate result, nor does he expect that his advanced ideas will be readily taken up. His duty is to lay the foundation for those who are to come and point the way. You painted the light of the soul, and I built the light of the world. Together, we defeated the dark.
Who truly built the modern world? The man who designed it on paper, or the man who powered it? Whose side are you on? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to check out our video on Newton versus Einstein next. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye.